start with the UI model. So UI model is nothing but the user interface model. So far, we have talked about the MDG fundamental items, and then we talked about the data model, where basically uh, we came to know that how to deal with the different attributes, entity types, and its relations, and then in the process model, how to define that. Also, we talked about uh, how to define the different type of key mappings, why the key mappings are required, particularly in terms of reuse and flex mode, the reason for using the key mapping. So now, after process model, so in process model, basically we define the different type of processes, and then we come to the UI model. So the very first thing in UI model is that we know that MDG 6.1 version, then 7.0, then 8.0, then 9.0, then 9.1, then 9.2. As per my understanding, this is the latest version. And in uh, since 6.1, whatever the architecture we are using, that is the present architecture is available till 9.2. Only the application level certain changes came, application layer and the presentation layer as well. But ultimate the architecture is remain same. But before 6.1, there was like MDG 5.0, but that architecture is no more available, or whether I can say that SAP has been terminated that particular architecture, and 6.1 onwards we have the present architecture. So from 6.1, SAP by default provide for MDG solution this floor plan manager. Earlier it was using Smart Forms, Adobe Forms, but from 6.1 version, it came by default the floor plan manager. So if I talk about a basic uh, description about the floor plan manager, then the description says that floor plan manager, or in short we call FPM, is a webbed into application that provides a framework for developing a new webbed into application interfaces consistent with SAP UI guidelines. So basically, in terms, if I talk about uh, in a very layman manner thing, then let's say the let's say we have a web intro component, which is the basic component. Any web UI or like user interface, if you are dealing with in SAP, you have to deal with the web intro component. This is the basic component. On top of it, we have this FPM or floor plan manager. And so basically, in web intro component, what is happening? In web intro component, we have the basic component like if I want to create a view, or if I want to create a window, or if I want to create a button, or if I want to navigate the screens from one view to another view. Okay, so then I need to do it from scratch in web intro component, and web intro component will help me to uh, build it. So FPM is just one step ahead. So APM says that no, you need not to do all those things again and again. Like you need not to create the main view, then sub view, then buttons, then window, then navigations, all those things again and again. Rather, based on the different domain, like for example, based on business partner, or based on material, or based on finance, or based on custom object, we will provide you. or means SAP will provide a kind of a standard template through a PM, uh, where you have like main view, sub view, window, navigations, everything. Okay, all you need to do, you just need to add on your respective data model. So the moment you add your respective data model, the the relative fields, attributes, everything will be available for you on UI. Okay, so basically they will give a standard schema for you rather again and again creating the things, because it is a time taking factor there. But you have to provide a solution in a very quick manner in real time project. That's what we use FPM. Now coming to today, if I talk about in most of the project or at least few projects which they are using, particularly those projects which are on S4 HANA MDG, they are going to use the Fiori. Okay, so Fiori is just one step ahead. So what is going to happen? So Fiori is actually compatible with UI5 UI5 technology. So what is this Fiori and UI5? So basically, whether you say Fiori or FPM, the backend component is a WebDynpro component without any doubt. Okay, without WebDynpro, you cannot create UI. That is a very a simple underlying point. Okay, so Fiori says like the difference between FPM and Fiori is Fiori, the web UI is more mature than FPM in terms of looks. Like in Fury, if I talk about NetWeaver business client launchpad. So if that NWBC launchpad, if you open with FPM and if you open Fury launchpad, then you can see the clear differences. Okay, so in Fury we have a different catalog tiles, and those catalog tiles comes under different catalog groups. Okay, so groups like we may have a material governance, supplier governance. Under supplier governance, there can be a different type of groups like supplier governance, then replication, then data transfer, then mass processing for business partner. So likewise. Okay. Mm, so now in Fury, what is happening? In Fury, basically, it provides the catalog. Okay, it provides a catalog. So catalog is nothing but a kind of a schema which is one step ahead than FPM. There also you will have the same sort of things like you will have a create, change, mark for deletion, all different type of respect to the different domain schema. Okay, where you have all main view, sub view, everything available. You just need to add on your data model with it. So then accordingly, it will incorporate the respective fields which you maintain in the data model. So that's what in MDG, it is a very interesting thing that data model connects with process model. Similarly, data model connects with UI. Same way, process model will connect with UI. So they are interconnected with each other. Otherwise, how UI will come to know that what are those fields you are using in your framework? It will come to know from your data model. Similarly, how UI will come to know that for when it will trigger create, when it will trigger change, when it will trigger mark for deletion, that will that detailing come from the process model. So that is how it works. Okay. So in Fury, basically what is happening? So in Fury, definitely we will have a different session regarding Fury. I'm not going into that much of detail at this moment. But if I give you a little detailing, like what is happening, that in Fury we have a different set of configurations, which is a Fury configuration. Okay, and that Fury configurations helps basically to not only develop your domain specific UIs, also it will help whatever the database level tables you have. Let's say you have a BUT 000 table, you have LFA1 table, you have a MARA table, you have a KNA1 table. Those table data you can access similarly on Fiori side, okay, through Fiori Launchpad. So that means those tables which are available on ECC screen, that will be accessible in the same manner on Fiori UI screen. Okay, for that we need a certain configurations. So that is one part. Another part is there are a lot of difference between Fiori and FPM. I'm not going into that details, but if I talk about one more details, that is why Fiori is important. Let's say for an example, I'm using supplier governance. Okay, in supplier governance, I have a different suppliers which will have a different company codes and different purchase order. Okay, so one supplier may have, let's say, three company codes and three purchase order. Okay, and let's say uh, I want to make a change for a specific company code, or let's say I want to make a mark for deletion or block unblock activity I want to do for a specific company code, then in APM it will be a challenging. But if you are using Fiori, it will be very easy to deal with it. Similarly, if I talk about the consolidation and mass processing, in FPM, consolidation and mass processing, uh, we basically use the multi-processing concept in FPM through NWBC. But if I talk about Fury, we have this consolidation concept where whatever the data we have, we can edit them, we can validate them, we can activate them through the Fury process. So these are all differences we have in Fury. But if I talk about UI perspective, so we have today three types of opportunity. One is directly we can deal with WebInfo component, which we don't, because here if you just deal with straight away WebInfo component, you have to create the window, you have to create the view, main view, sub view, button, everything from scratch. So that amount of time we don't have. So normally we go with FPM. So FPM where we have all the standard schema available, or if we are standing at S4 HANA MDG, then we will prefer to go with the Fury. Okay, where also similarly we have a different type of schema for different domain available standard templates, and everything whether I'm on Fury or FPM, I have to deal with the ultimately WebInfo component, which is the basic component. So that is the story behind this WebInfo component and this. So normally I will go with FPM. Then we have a specific session for Fury. There also I will talk about Fury. I will show you the list of configuration and how it works and everything. Okay. Then coming to the advantage of using FPM. The first thing is ensure behavior in unified form. Second thing is less time consuming. Third is minimal programming effort needed. Fourth is standardization. And fifth one is integration of different WebInfo components in one FPM application. So as I was talking about, if I start with from the last one, so we have a different components. In WebInfo components also, we have a different type of components. Like for an example, in one screen, there can be a table format, there can be a form format, and there can be a tab format. And under each and every format, there will be a different list of attributes which will be appear. So in FPM, we can nicely manage such kind of different WebInfo component within the single UI. Okay, so that is one thing. Second thing is standardization. Standardization means it is providing you a standard schema. Then it is up to you how you will use it. For different project, there will be a different type of requirement, and they can use it in a different way. Next is minimal programming effort needed. So basically what is happening down the line, we will see particularly when we will come to the enhancement of UI. So in enhancement of UI, we will see that behind this FPM UI, we have something called feeder class. Okay. So feeder class is basically one global class which is having list of methods, and those methods are executing for certain purpose. Let's say to save the data, to log the data, unlog the data, to read the data, to replicate the data, to validate the data. There are a lot of other field property activities are also supporting. So the backend feeder class we can enhance according to our needs. So that is also, and it is very easy to manage. That is the most important thing. Next thing is less time consuming, obviously, and ensure the behavior of unified form. Then there are different types. So basically, we have three types of API. One is object instance floor plan (OIF). Okay. Another one is guided floor plan. Okay. And third one is the overview floor plan. Guided activity floor plan. OIF is object instance floor plan, and OVP is overview floor plan. So this is a screenshot of which is object instance floor plan. So here you can see WebDynflow component providing an object instance type of floor plan. So what is the importance here? Importance is you can see the data is coming in a tabular manner, just like a Excel data. So in Excel we have a different tabs. Under different tabs we have a different list of attributes. Same way you can see we have a different tabs, and under different tabs we can have a different attributes. Okay. There will be some mandatory, there will be some optional attributes. Next one is the guided activity floor plan. Guided activity floor plan. This type of UI probably you have seen when mostly, at least I observe, when we submit the the apply for job in any sort of UI which is for job application. Most of the cases I have seen they are look like a GA. So where we have like what is the difference here? You can see in such kind of UI, you will have a different bars like 1, 2, 3, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4 like that. And every steps you will have a different set of data. So let's say step 1 you may have educational details. Step 2 you have to provide professional details. Step 3 you have to provide project details. Step 4 you have to provide your extra achievements like certification, other activities, etc. Then next is probably your personal details, and then next your uh, upload the CV. So likewise, you will have a different set of data in a guided activity manner. It is not like a tab one. It is rather a guided activity manner. Okay, and there will be some definitely some mandatory field, and there will be some optional entry as well. And then once you complete, it will uh, submit the request. So step by step process, it happens, and you can have this next button, so you can go next, 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 and finally you can finish it. The third one is which is mainly used for MDG process, which is OBP. Okay, so OBP is now if I talk about customer, vendor, supplier, finance, everywhere it is OBP because OBP is more easy to deal with, or rather, its visibility is much better than the other two. So basically, it's a overview plan. Here you can see the change request details, the change request basic information. change request number, description, priority, what time change request created, who has been created this change request, everything, all this information you have. And then you have the respective details, like if you are working with supplier, then the supplier data. If you are working with material, then material data. If you are working with finance, like cost center, like profit center, then that related data you will have. Okay. So basically, this is the OVP screen. And then you will have the respective details like the classification data, characteristics information, plant details. For business partner, it's like ERP details like company code, sales org, company code, purchase org, etc. So now we are going to talk about different types of UI adaptation. Okay. However, we will have a definitely it's we will have a hands-on with this. But the major topic which uh, we need to understand before we start UI, those I am first covering, and then I will go to the hands-on activity. So different types of UI adaptation. So first of all, what is adaptation? So adaptations are a technique in UI, like whether you are doing customizing from scratch or whether you are using the enhancement. There will be different techniques and how to deal with the different techniques. First is the deep copy. Deep copy is the simplest option is to copy a SAP delivered application. With the help of the application hierarchy browser or floor plan manager, it is quite simple to copy the whole configuration tree of an FPN application, and it is possible to keep some branches of the original tree and copy only the part you need to adapt. So basically, let me tell you, uh, this is required when you do a particular, let's say you have a standard schema, right? Whether it is material, whether it is business partner, whether it is finance, whatever it is, you have a standard template. That standard template will have a list of fields and everything, but that is not sufficient. I need to enhance, I need to add my own list of fields, I need to add um, my own validations, mm, some new UIBB, let's say, many other things. So then we will have two options. One, we can deep copy the standard configuration, or we can do the enhancement. Okay. So deep copy means what is happening? The standard application which SAP is providing, you simply copy them. Like what we do. This is one similar case. Like if I have to copy one standard ABAP program or standard class, then what I need to do? Either I can copy the class and then I can uh, uh, add on one piece of code there, or I can create directly the enhancement in the standard class. Either I go with the post exit or I can go with the implicit enhancement. That is a different story. Okay. So deep copy is exactly the same concept. The standard template we have, we just copy the standard template in our custom name. It could be start with X, sorry, Z or Y. Okay. So then I can add on my piece of data along with it. That is deep copy. Another one is the enhancement. That means I don't want to copy the standard schema or standard template. Let the standard template as it is. I just need to add on my, whether through the implicit enhancement or through kind of a post exit, whatever you say. But ultimately, I will create my own enhancement object, and there I will add on my piece of data. Okay, so that is the two difference between the deep copy and the enhancement object. Okay, Now, first of all, which one we have to use, deep copy or enhancement? Normally, I prefer enhancement rather than deep copy. Okay, because the part only which I need to enhance, that I can only enhance, and then the rest of the template will work as it is, as per the standard process. So that's what. But deep copy is one of the option which we have. Then it is having some advantages and disadvantages. So what is the advantage? That is, it is easy to understand what is happening, and there is absolutely no interface between your copied entities and later deliveries of the original application. So basically, I can say that when you, in general, if I say, when you copy with some standard class or copy some standard ABAP program, okay, you actually copy everything. You not only copy the logic, you also copy the respective parameters, you copy all the entities which is present in that program or in that particular class. The same way here. So next drawback is correction and improvements of configuration delivered by SAP which affect the original application will not reach the copied entities of your application. So this is very important point. That's what I was telling, that enhancement is always a good approach, because tomorrow if SAP come up with some improvement of that existing UI configuration, and you before that you already made a deep copy, then make sure it will not reach your copied one. So, but if you go with the enhancement approach rather than the deep copy, that will affect, because ultimately you are enhancing with the standard one, right? So that is one thing. So how it looks like? So basically, you can see this is the FPM applications, and these are all components. These are all component ID, and this is the standard one. You can see this is standard ID, which start with FPM demo, etc. Okay, and then this is the one which you can see which start with Z. That means the standard configuration ID we are going to copy to this target one. And then I can do whatever I want. Like I can add up my own logic. Otherwise, we are not supposed to add up our own logic in the standard configuration, right? So that's what we can use the start deep copy. So this option. Okay. Next is context-based adaptation. Okay. So this is also a part of adaptation. So what is context-based adaptation, or in short, we call it as a CBA. So CBA is an adaptation concept which allows you to have adaptation based on the runtime environment. With CBA, you have the option to create multiple adaptations of a single application, and at runtime, the application chosen is based on the current launch or runtime conditions. Now, let me tell you how it works. So basically, let's say uh, I have a certain requirement where I say that if my material type is FERT, if my change request type is ZMAT01, then my UI should have, let's say, two more fields available. But if that is not the case, then those two fields won't be available. So these things I can maintain through context-based adaptation. So in context-based adaptation, what we basically do, we create the conditions first. So the conditions can be different type of conditions possible. One is the change request type. Another one is the material type. Another one is the workflow step number. And then, if I correctly remember, CR type, material type, then workflow step number. and one or two options are there. I'm forgetting at this moment. So likewise, 4 or 5 options you have to deal with. Okay. So yeah, sorry, actions is one of them. Like create, change, mark for deletion. That actions is one of the items. So like material type, change request type, action, workflow step number. These are okay. So then what is happening that with that condition, you can create the UI layers, the adaptation UI layers, where you can say that adaptation layer, when you create, under that adaptation layer, you will have a respective UI configuration, and that respective UI configuration, you can add those two fields or a new UI VB, whatever you want. Okay. So what is going to happen? It will pick the data based on the runtime manner. So obviously, in change request, the moment if you enter the change, let's say material type FERT and CR type is ZMAT01, then if that condition match in a runtime process, it will pick that particular CBA, and then you will have all those additional fields which will be visible for you. But if that is not the condition, then you cannot see that data. Anyway, these are all what I'm saying. Everything we will see in hands-on. Okay. Now, what is the advantage and disadvantage? The advantage part is you can have a multiple adaptation in parallel, and there are mechanisms to define which adaptation should be chosen at runtime and most suitable for large global and role-based business. So basically, what is happening, like for create, you can have a different, for change, you can have a different, or as it says that normally the change request type is not only for different actions that I already mentioned in previous session, it is also required for the defining different global regions, like for North America, for Lao, for Asia Pacific, for EMEA, we define the different CR types. And here you can also define the CVA based on the different CR types. So then you can mention, like if it is CR type, let's say MAT01, which is defining for North America, there will have a 2 more fields. But if it is ZMAT01, which is defining APAC, there will be 6 more fields. Okay. So likewise, you can define. So that is the advantage. The drawback is concept work is required behind the implementation, and dynamic CBA, in which the adaptation is only determined at a runtime basis on displayed data, normally requires some code adaptations. Therefore, it is often necessary to combine CBA with an enhancement. So what is happening? Sometimes it is required for a certain validations. And validations means you need to write some piece of logic in the backend feeder class. Then what is happening that then you need to combine that uh, context-based adaptation with the enhancement. So that is one challenge you may have. Now, if you ask me whether CBA is a right approach, obviously based on the different conditions, you may use CBA. But if you want to avoid CBA completely, whether this is possible, this is of course possible, then everything you need to deal with programmatically. Okay, and if you ask me, being a developer, I can say that it is quite better option because let's say the same example I can pick for advantage case which I said, like based on the different region, we can create a different CBA. Same activity we can do through the programmatically. So if my region is, let's say, North America. For this, if the CR type is MAT01, then these four fields, let's say, will be visible in a new UIP. So that I can easily maintain the logic through programmatically. Okay, but to avoid all those programmatic logic, we can use CBA. That is one thing. But again, the challenge is, let's say if you have a certain validations, data validation factors you have, or data derivation factors you have, based on one field, another field value is populating, or that based on one field value, another field is depending, then you have to write the logic in the enhancement, and that enhancement should link with CBA. But if you off CBA completely, then in the same enhancement, you can maintain both appearing the field or hiding the field at the same time validations and derivation of the field. Okay, so that is the way you can deal with. Next is the custom component. So basically we have three items. One is, if I now, when we are slowly enter into the UI configurations, we have to deal with three things: custom component, standard component, and enhancement. Custom component means you are basically creating completely a new configuration. Okay, that is something which is a custom component. Standard component means you have a standard one, and enhancement means you have a standard one. Along with that, you want to enhance for a certain functionality to include. Okay, so if I talk about customizing component, this is for adaptations carried out by the administrator at the customer site. Adaptations are valid for all users. The corresponding client, a customizing can be created and edited both at the design end and runtime. Advantage: only the change part of the configurations are stored. Therefore, later changes or the corrections to the original base configuration will apply even an adapted configuration. No additional effort is required compared to modifying the original object. And configuration customizing is the best approach to fine tuning an FPM application. So this is the advantage part. Disadvantage: customizing is restricted to the component configuration. There is no way to customize code. In contrast to component configuration, it is not possible to create versions or copies as a backup. Okay, I will start off with the hands-on with the customizing component. Uh, but before that, I will just quickly come across the enhancement. Only two more slides we have, and then we will quickly go to the system. We'll start the hands-on. Enhancement says that the general NetWeaver enhancement framework works with FPM based application, as well as the necessary entity can be enhanced. What is the advantage? It is only option that allows you to combine both code changes and the configuration adaptation, as I was talking about. The drawback: it is possible to have more than one enhancement per component configuration, and additionally, the single enhancement may originate in the different systems. With these possibilities, there is a danger of losing the overall picture. That is true. So basically, what is happening? It is saying that we may have a multiple enhancement in place. Let's say today there are some requirement, and today I will create one enhancement. Then after 6 months, again some requirement will come. Again, someone from my team will create another enhancement. Then there might be a different enhancement which can be created, and then at the end of the day, it may be lost. Same way for CBA. If you create a different CBA and if you don't maintain a proper detailing, then you may lost with the details. So which CBA is for what? So that's what it is important, particularly if I talk about enhancement. You should have one enhancement. Within one enhancement, you can do whatever the changes you want, rather than the creating multiple enhancement with the standard component. And this is how you can see. So this is the component, the component UI component configuration screen, and there under the additional functions you have a deep copy and also enhancement. Okay. Anyway, so let's go to the system. Just a minute. Let me unshare my screen for a while. I'm going to share my screen again. So this is nothing but I need to log into the S4 instance. So the first thing which I will do, let's go to NWBC. NWBC is nothing but NetWeaver Business Client. Okay, NetWeaver Business Client, which basically supported by FPM. Okay, so now one more time I'm calling. Okay, I was expecting the list of rows, but anyways, for custom object, no worries. Okay, let me go to PFCG. So PFCG is nothing but the SAP role. Here, why I'm going to this role, you will come to know in a few moments. First, I want to execute something which I have created. Hmm. Single processing entity. Anyway, I don't remember what was the role I have maintained. Probably this one, but let's see. If not, I don't think so. This is anyway. Then let's move to the build part, and then we'll come to the execution part. Initially, I thought, okay, I can first go with execution part and then build part. But fine, as I don't remember that. And also the NWBC is not appearing with the roles list, so that is okay. Okay, first is customizing. Okay, so that what I was saying, that we have customizing component and we have standard and then enhancement. So first we will go with the customizing. So UI customizing, how we will deal with. So customizing means by name itself, we understand it has nothing to do with material, customer, vendor, and everything. It is purely a custom process. So if I correctly remember that another day we created data model called airline process, right? Is that the one? I don't remember the data model name, but anyway, for airline process, let me see. Okay, carrier ID is there. Under the carrier ID, URL, and then go back, then currency. What is, do you remember the one which I created here, the data model name, rather than I'm using somebody's else? I think this one, Z6. Yes, Z6. This is mine. Okay, so this is the data model. First, let's see whether my data model is active or not. It is active. Perfect. It has a two entity type and it is having the relationship. So everything is already maintained. Then I will come to, so this is the data model part. Then I will come to the process model. In process model, uh, we definitely maintain the business activity for this. So that we need to see what was Z6. What was that? Yeah, Z6 C1. Okay, this is the one which we created. Okay, business activity this is. And then next is uh, change request. Change request type. So here Z6, this is the one, Z6C1A. Okay, Z6C1A. And this is the workflow template. This is the entity type which we have rented. Fine then. So then my change request part, that means process model part is done. Then UI. So first is under the UI modeling, the first thing which I need to see, that is manage UI configuration. Okay, go to the manage UI configuration. Okay, then this is one custom one, custom application, which is USMD entity value 2, which is for the application. and the application configuration is USMD entity value 2, and the UI configuration is USMD entity value 2 OIF. So I'm using this the UI configuration. The reason is there also we can see the exposure of OIF, because most of the time down the line what we will see that is OBP. These are all OBP. You can see respect to finance. So here you can see respect to the data model finance. This is the application name. This is the application configuration. Let's say for CO, for AI, for profit center group, the respective UI configurations. Majority are, you can see, OBP. Similarly, if I scroll down a bit, for business partner, you can also have the business partner OBP. Okay. And then you have material, which is also for OBP. Okay, the different UI configuration. So first, we are going to take the standard one, which is this one, USMD entity value to this one. Okay, so let's click here. Okay, display. So now you can see this is the application configuration area and this is the standard area. But if I scroll down here, so if I scroll down, I can see the change request type. What is the change request type? USMD model. What is the data model name? Nothing has been given because it's a standard schema. Now we need to assign this with this application configuration. So, but this is the standard one. We cannot take the standard one in our count. So what we need to do, we need to basically this is a little advanced screen. Much familiar with this because the screen options are little different here. If I go to configuration name, it will directly bring me to the component configuration, which I don't want to go. Let's see, from there I can do the deep copy. Okay. So here I have a deep copy option. Deep copy. Okay. Now change affix, because by default it is coming Z underscore, but I will change the affix and I will make my data model name first. So it will be easy for me to recognize. So this is the standard configuration ID and this is the target configuration ID. So now I'm going to uh, deep copy this. Usually we need to save in the project package, but I'm here saving in a local object. So the deep copy is done. So first I'm going to the target configuration ID. Okay. So in the target configuration ID, now it is, you can see the application configuration is starts with Z. Okay. So now I can do whatever I want. So just edit, and here the data model, USMD model, I need to give the data model name and save it. Done. Then go to OIF, which will bring me the component configuration area. Okay. Now here I can see the left hand side of the screen. I have a different variants, and the right hand side of the screen I have something called main view, sub view, and then UIBB. Okay. So first thing is variant, and variant is also under the initial screen. So the first thing which I need to do, I need to create my own variant. I'm not going with the standard variants. So what I will do, let me delete this and select the initial screen, then create the variant. So here you can see carrier ID. How carrier ID appears? Because uh, mm, just before this step in the application configuration, I have added the application configuration with the data model Z6, and Z6, the leading entity type is nothing but the carrier ID. That's what this carrier ID appears here. So that's what it is very important that we should link our UI with the data model, right? So this is one hand-to-hand example where you can see that why linking UI with data model is necessary, because ultimate data is coming from the data model. So now I have only the carrier ID. So let's save it. Now right hand side, when I can see I have a main view, then sub view, and the interesting part is these are all standard schema. You can see object instance schema. These are all standard schema. Now there is UIBB. Now what is UIBB? UIBB is nothing but a group of attributes. Okay. Now here, what I need to give the component for UIBB. So it's a FPM star. Let's go. So there are different type of. That's what I was saying. That we have a form, we have a table, we have a tab, different type of. So I have to be little specific. Otherwise, it will come with a lot of options. APM underscore form star. APM form UIBB. Okay. The moment you say the component is a form, the window is form window. What is window? Window means, if I say general terms, every house having window. what we see in window. In window, we can see view, right? So view, we have main view, we have sub view. Under the sub view, we have view and view. Simple thing. Okay. So that's what every component having. So if it is form, then form window. If it is table, then it will be list window. Table means list window. If it is a tab, then it is a tabbed window. And if it is a composite means it's a combination of form and table. Then it will be a composite window. So four types. Mainly we deal with four types. There will be many more, but honestly speaking, for any project, hardly you will deal with the four. Not even four. Okay, it will be less than four. Okay, but maximum four: form, list, tabbed, composite. Okay. Now here, the configuration ID. Configuration ID, I can write it down according to. Okay, and then save it. Then, so far we just define the name, nothing more than that. Okay, then select it. Then go to, so you have select this one and configure UIDB, because you have given the configuration ID name, but it has nothing inside. So the process name, yeah, process. Save it again. Feeder class. Now which feeder class I need to give? FPM form. I want a standard feeder class for FPM form. You can see there are some feeder class which is coming specific to the airline process, but no, not necessary that I need to use the uh, mm, uh, the, because I'm using the airline process, but it doesn't mean that I need to go with that. Rather, I will go with the standard form feeder class. So I can give CL underscore FPM underscore form. Usually the feeder class comes by default, uh, but in this new version, we have to give the feeder class as well. Wait a minute. I need to quickly cross check because feeder class is very important. If we cannot give any feeder class like whatever I want, then otherwise it will be a problem. So Here, I'm taking little time, but I just wanted to ensure the feeder class I'm using, make sure the correct feeder class. Otherwise, it will give a problem in order to execution of this process. Okay, just a moment. Okay, in the meantime, I found something. Let me share. Let's go with this. CLNDG BSGYBB form. So this is the standard one rather than specific to any. Here, keep the component name. No, no. Let's make it simple. Normally, if you ask me, like, don't you remember the feeder class name? Honestly speaking, this is a custom one. For standard, yes, we do remember, uh, particularly for material, for supplier, for customer. But custom, in real-time project, we don't have any use. So that's what we don't remember the feeder class name. And the reason is I don't want to give any random feeder class name. Otherwise, it will create an issue with the execution time. That's what I want to go with a proper feeder class name. And that's what I'm taking a little time.
Aditya, we can give the our custom feeder class also implementing the interface IX form UI.
Definitely,
That can
definitely we can. But normally, what happens when you create that in earlier version, it will give a one feeder class attached with it, custom feeder class attached with it. But this version, it doesn't give. So I'm just comparing with the last version, and then accordingly we will create. That's what. This is what you see. This is 7.0. Okay. Rest of the activity is the same. Just I'm doing because of see this is standard, so definitely it is not going to allow me. So I need to the remaining process are same. You copy. I don't know which data model here. Need to check. There is no data model regarding. I think coordinator has refreshed this instance, if I'm not wrong. Because last week I remember we had one. Okay, quickly I'm creating. Are you ready? It was type 1, data element. Description anyhow. This is done. Okay. Then just teaching. This one. Change ethics. Start. Copy. Go to configuration. Set key. This is just standard variant. Create one variant. Okay. So here, if we here I can see another issue in UI screen. The result is not appearing. So this is also something need to report to basis. Okay, that name we can get it. That's not a problem. We have here API form UIDB. Form builder. Select it. Go to the configure UIDB. Okay, this is the one. Just to pick this name, write it all. CL underscore USMD. Okay, entity. This is something which is the same name of a component. Value to and then proxy. This is the name. See, in the earlier version, it was appearing by default. The feeder class. It's a standard feeder class. And the one which you were saying that whether can we create custom feeder class? Why? My question is why? When we have a standard feeder class, why we need to create a custom feeder class? Look, the thing is here the whole ball game is different. It's not you can create custom feeder class, you can create custom UI component, everything can be possible. But then your life will be more complicated. When you have the standard applications available, you must strive for that first because you have the enhancement options available rather than going straight away, okay, no problem, I will create a custom. That is little challenging. Okay, it's not. It is not like in down the line in enhancement case. I will show you. In many cases, we will create a custom feeder class because it is needed. But we will also have an example like how we can extend the standard feeder class as well. Okay. Anyway, quickly, ismd underscore entity value to. This is the one. Single processing entity for feeder class. Okay. So changing the feeder class, yeah. Okay, fine. Because this is a standard feeder class, so I need not to define any component additionally. Otherwise, what is going to happen? I need to define the respective components and all. And that is to this feeder class is associate with this application component. That is the good part. Okay. So this is done. Okay. Now we need to create one element group and there add the element to the group. So what will be the list of fields which needs to be available here? First is the already just before the screen when we were in component configuration, there we added the carrier ID. Now we have currency, the description, currency description, and the URL. Now you can ask me why you are not adding change created at, change at, or changed by, because these are all default information. Anyhow, those information will be available in USMD 120C table. These are all change request details. Okay, so this is the data, this is the fields, and just save it. So this is, so far we created in UI the variant. Under the variant, we maintain the UIBB, and under the UIBB schema, we maintain the fields. So this is how we maintain the field in UI, particularly for the custom scenario. Okay. Now, uh, you can minimize this. Close those window which is not necessary. We can probably close them. Okay. I need to go to the S4 HANA instance. I guess this is the one. Yeah, so this is the UI section. Now, next part is, so already data model connect with UI. Now I need to link process model connect with UI. So go to the change request type, and we have something called related to Z6. This is the one. Go to the entity type and click here, and this is the, so automatically how we are getting this.
Yeah, Aditya, your screen is frozen. We can't see anything.
But I can see, others can see. At this moment, which screen you are right now?
I am at entity value to what is this? Preview screen.
What do you mean by previous screen? Can you please tell me what exactly you can see in the
I am
screen?
at Z6 USMD entity value 2.
Perfect. Yes. So
Presently,
you
I'm
might be correct. This is where I am right now. So I would like to say that who is facing the screen problem probably need to rejoin. So probably it is your side internet issue. That's what there is a lag. Okay. So right now I'm in configuration ID. So basically in change request type, this is the change request type which we had Z6C1A, and this is the entity type and the configuration ID. So this is the configuration ID. So which we have Z6 USMD entity value 2. Now the question which will appear that how come I'm receiving this? What is the common factor for this? The common factor for this is the data model, because the change request type also associate with the data model Z6. Similarly, the UI configuration ID is also associated with the data model Z6. I can see someone is not mute. Attendees too. Can you please mute yourself? Okay. So save this. So now here, one important point to understand. So that means now my UI is also connect with process model, right? So once this is done, what is next? Next is execution part. So execution part means I need to go to PFCG. PFCG is a T code for the role maintenance. Okay. Now for custom execution, so for material, for customer, for supplier, we have a different role. Similarly, for custom, we have a specific role which is SAP underscore MDG X underscore menu. Okay. And if I go to this particular role, under this we have something called the master data governance for custom object. That is what we are exactly trying to do. And under that we have change request details where we have multi-processing, single processing, uh, so many other things, and then the replication, data input, etc. So the first thing which I will do, that is, this is the standard role. I don't want to touch the standard role. So I will copy this. Again, a kind of a deep copy concept. So copy this. So everything which is part of the standard role will come here. Okay. Then go to the menu section and let's say under the change request. So now under the change request, edit and go to WebDynpro application. Ultimately, I will create one WebDynpro application. This is the one. So how I am getting this WebDynpro application detail? Just one more time, just to show you how we are getting this. When we go to MDG app, MDG IMG, UI model, manage UI configuration. So in this manage UI configuration screen, here we have under the application configuration, USMD entity value 2. So that is the WebDynpro application name is the same name. Okay. If it is material, then the material respective material application configuration I need to maintain. If it is supplier, then the same thing. Okay. Then the description. Description is, let's say, airline process. Configuration need not to give anything. So the first thing is change request mode X. That means the change request will be triggered. When it will trigger? Process. What is the process? What kind of process we have? Submit it. Go to MDG ING process model business activity. Because my soul of the process is defined here. This is right. Create. Similarly, if I want to do for change, I can also go for a change. Now go back. Edit. So here always in the process we have to give the business activity. Save it. Forget about workflow part. Then authorization. Go to the authorization area. MDG. Authorization. Generate. We need to generate in role. There is no concept called activation. Rather, we have a concept called generate. Yeah. Active. So generate. Save. Okay. Now you can see authorization is in green. Now I need to add this user. This user is admin. Also, I can use set user. Okay, no problem. Okay, so now I will execute airline process. Execute. You can directly execute from here, or we will see in NWBC as well. Okay, so the first screen which is appearing, that is create change request airline process, this one. So first is, now I'm going to create the data. Okay, so let's say continue. So this is the carrier ID, what we feel just now. Now description. Due date reason, anyhow I'm not giving any details. This is the change request information. Similarly, this is the description. So currency, local currency. Wait a minute. It should come the data from the domain level. Let's see. Make sure it is okay. 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 Data element. Okay. There is no entry, so let me create one entry first. That is one. Then we have two entries. Okay. Because it is not synced properly, so I need to again trigger this. Because the change request has opened before than the entry made. That's the reason. Yeah. So now, obviously, I can give some notes. Okay. And then check and submit. Okay. So what is the change request? 472. Now this change request, first we will see AC16 USMD 120C 467 47 472. Okay. So here you can see this is the change request number. This is the change request type. Status of the change request is this one. Change request description created, which is in a timestamp manner. Like this is the year, this is the month, this is the date, hour, minute, second. Who has been created? The next step, because it is just now submitted, not yet approved. Approval for approval and all those things we will see because it is a part of workflow. So for that we need to see the next chapter. So next processes are still waiting, and activate. Still it is not activate. It is just submitted. Okay, so from USMD 120C, this data we can see. Similarly, the moment we know that the moment we submit some record, it will go to the staging table. So go to SE38 USMD underscore data model, and here Z6 is the data model. So this is the check table. So this is the physical table. Go to this physical table and execute. So I can see this is my record. So that means this is the record which is right now in the staging layer, in the staging table, not in the active table. Okay. Once this record is activate, then it will go to the respective uh, mm, database table. But at this moment, it is in the staging table, right? So this is how we can create the data. Similarly, if I open NWBC, let's see where I can see this. I need to go to the custom governance page, and there here. Okay. Or you can directly go to PFCG. This is the role, and from this role you can execute. But obviously, if you ask me real-time process or real-time project, we are not going to see the role and everything. Rather, uh, we will go through the NWBC process. Okay. Similarly, you can create one more. Okay. 473. Same way, you can go to this staging table, go back and refresh. You have this data. Okay. So any question so far? So today, whatever we have seen, like how we can create through the custom process, the UI user interface for, uh, if I talk about this example, airline process, and there we basically create the UI, absolutely custom UI, and we add the field which we have maintained in the UI, and then so on. Okay. So the first thing is in UI model, we have configuration details for floor plan manager, which we talked about, the basic understanding about FPM. And then the next thing is to develop custom UI model. Okay. And today I will stop here because next next session I will talk about the standard and enhancement. Standard means the standard schema which provides by SAP. Standard, anyway, you know that hardly there are any project today, or probably there will be no project who are using the standard. Rather than they will go for the enhancement, which is the enhancement of the standard schema. So basically in next session, our focus is on the two areas. So one is how to enhance the standard UI for specific uh, attribute or entity type, etc. That is one thing. Second thing is how to develop the field property activities, because it's just not adding the field on UI. There will be some more requirement which will be added along with it. Like your customer will say, you know what, I want to make this particular field as a mandatory field, or I want to make this field as a read only. I want to make this field as a F4 value, or I want to make this field as a grade, hide it. Okay. So there will be similarly, there will be different sort of field property activities, which is common for every project that will be needed. Okay. Or even more, like there will be a new UIBB needs to be created with the existing standard schema. How to do that? So these are all part of enhancement process, which we are going to discuss in the next session. Okay. So any question, anything so far?
Hey, Aditya, I have a question on feeder class. When we do these enhancements, how do we know which feeder class to use?
We will discuss next session, because today I haven't discussed about the feeder class. Next session, when we will come to the enhancement, there we will have a very detailed discussion with the feeder class. So rather discuss today, let's talk about next week, because next week we will have a lot of hands-on activity. So then it will be more easy to understand for you and also easy to explain for me.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Mhm.
Right. Any other question?
Hi Aditya, this side. I have a question.
Yeah, tell me.
Yeah, can you create a new one? Go to the screen. During creation, is the option is there attachment. So what the significance of the attachment? You can attach PDF or any MS Word or image.
Correct. You can create. Okay. So this attachment means you can add some PDF file. So what happens? Let me tell you. Normally, the if you ask me in a real time use, at least whatever I come across in a different project, the real time use is very less, or it's close to no. Okay. But normally this option given in a standard schema. Why this option is necessary? Because let's say someone is creating the material. Okay. In the material, they mention some unit of measure, or they mention some classification characteristics, but sometimes they need to justify this point. Why this particular unit of measure is given? Why this classification and characteristics is given? Okay. For that, they need to attach the business document. That's what this attachment has been given. That is the main purpose to do it. But normally what happens, if you see, there are two type of public who deals with this change request. One is the end user, another one is the IT team from the business side. Okay, basically these two type of people who deal with the change request in production. Now coming to the end user, let's say I'm an end user and I'm adding some data. Okay, so normally what happens in the workflow process? Okay, however, we haven't come across the workflow, which is the next topic. So in the workflow process, it will go to the next level, and the next level is mostly the IT side of the the IT team of the business side. Okay, so the IT team of the business side having the business document, having a good understanding about the business, having a knowledge that what is required or what is not needed, and the moment they receive the data, they verify that and then accordingly they will approve and reject. So for that, what I observed, normally this attachment of document is not required. Okay, but still it is there because sometimes what happens, still some confusion arises between end user and the approvers. Then it is necessary to attach this document. So that is one angle. Another angle is when the IT members from the business side, they create the change request. So already they have enough understanding about the process. So that's what this attachment is not needed. So that is the whole background behind it. But this is a part of the standard scheme. Okay.
So suppose that we are attaching for the any business requirement. So we need to set any configuration in the backend or simple we can attach because my client
Just
using
simple
open
attach
text.
because it is a part of the standard schema. So we don't need any additional configurations for that.
Okay.
Okay. So that's the because you can see the note and the attachment. It is a part of the standard schema. We haven't defined anything from our end, but it appears. How? Because it is not only for the custom, even though if you see for material, for supplier, for basically note part, if I talk about, note is basically used when we reject the change request. Okay. When we reject the change request from the approver end, that time it is necessary to provide the justification. At that time, the approver who is rejecting, that particular approver will define the note and then reject the request. Okay, clear this point?
Yeah, thank you, Aditya. And one request is a humble request. Can you, after 1 hour, we can upload a recording session because last 2 weeks we are facing this issue. Maybe I don't know is a coordinator responsibility and which one. So
No, this
that's
is not my responsibility. Regarding document, regarding recordings, these are all things you need to coordinate. Regarding system availability, these are all things you need to coordinate directly with the coordinator. Okay.
okay. But at least to check with basis and response my email.
Correct,
Which
correct.
it is
Coordinator, you need to, yeah.
okay. Okay, it is S4 HANA or ECC, Aditya?
S4 Anna.
S4
S4
HANA,
HANA
S4
systems.
HANA.
Just
Yeah, yeah.
check with.
Let me clarify. See, S4 HANA, we have to reinstall, taking backup. We need additional hardware actually. We have kept things on additional RAMs and additional SSDs. Without that, we cannot do anything now. And there is no hardware availability. There is no. We have checked with different vendors. That is the reason we have kept things on hold. Otherwise, you can do the same activity. Everything remains same. It is. I don't think so. Any configuration or any screens will be different when we compare with ECC or S4 HANA. It takes time. I need hardware
Exactly.
because
Even
China is.
Ashish,
We don't have any
so what,
hardware, any goods movement from other countries now. That is not possible immediately. We have checked with different vendors. So ECC, definitely you can try that. Clarify, Aditya, if
Okay.
any changes in the configuration, anything different, if it is really different from ACC or S4 HANA, that you have to clarify.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt you. So, Ashish, probably you have seen today, just to see the feeder class, what I did, I switched because I was not confirmed with the feeder class name. So what I did, I switched to the another version. Okay. And what I did, I found that the data model, probably a coordinator has refreshed the system. Okay, recently last week, I was not aware about. So then I created the again data model. I maintained the UI, and you have seen the whole process, starting from creating data model, defining the process, and then UI. It was remain same what we were doing in S4 HANA. So that is what I was trying to mention from almost beginning, that the basic details, like if I talk about data model, process model, UI, and workflow, these are the things are remain same, irrespective of whatever the versions you are dealing with. Okay. So the particular, if I talk about categorically the problem which you are facing in S4 HANA, that's what I said this earlier. The same thing you can try out in MDG 7.0, because there is no point just simply wait that someday it will come, because as coordinator mentioned, he has to take the backup, because we have seen there are a lot of issues which is appearing in S4 HANA system. So it has to be reinstalled in a proper manner. Okay, so that's what. But the before that, it's not that everything is stop for you in S4 HANA. There are certain things which is not probably available at this point of time, which coordinator is following. The moment he will get from the right vendor that the respective logistics, he will immediately reinstall that. But till that time, you can switch to the another version and practice it. The moment it will available, then you can switch to S4, and then you can continue with the same.
Okay,
Okay.
Adit, thank you. Thank you for support.
Yeah.
But actually, sometimes we are practice for the 7 version or S4 HANA version. So in ECC, I've already created is working successfully. But during S4 HANA, we are getting a issue. That's why I'm asking. So during reuse mode, if you can see my screen, so we need how to select transport. So maybe is any issue is related to logistics. So that's a maybe coordinator or which
No, no,
one.
it is not issue. It is the one which you are facing. That is purely the authorization issue.
Yeah,
Let
yeah.
me that. So I was telling this. Tell you. I was telling the same thing. What was happening? You whatever the entry you made it, you were unable to save it because of the authorization you don't have in that instance. That's what in the respective reuse mode mapping activity, you are unable to getting the respective TR which you have created, whether it is a customizing one or the workbench one. Okay, so this is purely the authorization issue. It has nothing to do with MDG process, frankly speaking. So that's what, and there is no point to wait for the system. You can continue the same process in another version. In the meantime, as I mentioned, or as coordinator mentioned, he is trying to, it is on his priority that he will immediately, as soon as possible, the logistics if he will receive, then he will take the backup and reinstall the S4. Okay, so that is
Okay.
my suggestion from your end.
And one suggestion for the coordinator, if you
Yes, Aditya, Pratos here. I have. I think it's going to be
Yeah,
late, or also can we continue in next session? So my question is that while creating the
Yeah, tell me.
yeah. So actually, in the BP or materials, whenever you're creating a new material, it will automatically generate that what temporary number for material. Once it's activated, then it will be the final material number. So same way can be configured for the custom, which is just now you created the airline. So whenever you go for the creating a new airline, so it's temporary number. I mean, so how to configure that one actually? Or if you have time, that we can go, or otherwise we can go. No, what I'm telling.
One second. Just a moment. Let me share my screen. Okay. So
now.
So basically, the temporary number generate. Your question is how I am getting this temporary number.
No. How can we generate configure that temporary number? Now, what is happening now? When we are going to create any material, so first time it will not. It will give us some temporary number in it.
I understand your question. Just a moment. I understand you. See, first of all, for any domain you take, whether it is a BP, let's talk about business partner or ERP vendor or material, whatever. Initially, there will be a temporary number because your data is not in the active area. Rather, it will be in a staging area. When your data will be activated, go to the active area, then only the number will be your permanent number. Right? Now, here you can see the first thing is the prefix. So for material, this is the prefix. Okay. So this prefix, it has to follow. Okay. Whether now you can change the prefix based on whatever it has. Second thing is that the backend, we have a specific range for business partner, for material, for custom object, whatever you back. Okay, like what we have number range, like material.
Yeah, that is my same question. So this is my same question. So how to configure for the custom? Just now we have created the custom data model, JAD6. So how to configure for the custom data model?
For custom, if I talk about in our case, we have this carrier ID, which is nothing but the number which we are defining here. Now you are saying that okay, instead of this, I want to create my own number. Let's say, for an example. Okay. Then what you to do? Then the first thing which you need to do, that is, there are certain function modules which will be available. Probably I can provide some function module. What is going to do? First of all, you need to write this in the respective feeder class or access class that you need to check. Okay, I'm not 100% sure which area it will fit. Okay, or probably the handler. So I'm just giving you the understanding. Okay, so what is going to happen? I need a specific range for that, the custom range which I want for a specific custom master data. Then what I will do, in the respective, either it is feeder class or access class or handler class, that we need to check where it will be the right place to write it down. Okay, the logic. There we need to call the function module. So we have plenty of function modules which provide the ranges. The purpose of the range will be like we will define the number ranges. It will be a custom defined. Also, we will define the prefix as well. The only thing which will be associated, that is the data model, and whether it is a first time creation. These two things. First is the data model, and it is whether it is the first time creation. Because if so, how you will define the first time creation? Through the change request type. Let's say for an example, you talked about the material. If it is ZMAT01, which is, let's say, indicating create material, then that function module will trigger. Or let's say for custom you mentioned, so you said Z create CR time for an example. Then that particular function module will trigger. But if it is Z change or Z update or Z mark for deletion or something else, then that particular function module will not trigger, because it is quite understand that the data is already exists in the system. We are just going to update them. So for that, it is not needed. But for the first time of creation, it will be needed. So basically, 3-4 things we need to see. First, where we can write it down the logic. According to me, I think if we write it down, we need to write it down before the feeder class fires. Are you getting my point? Before the feeder class fires. So we need to set the debugger at the backend, and we need to see which class is firing before the feeder class in the process. There we need to write first thing. Second thing is function module. Even if you Google it, you can find any function module for the number range. That is not a problem. Then you need to define the number range. Then you need to define the data model. And then you need to define the change request type. So these are all logic which will trigger before your UI open for creation. And on your UI, that number will carry it. And it will be always +1. Every time you trigger the create CR type, it will be always +1. Right? So this is how we have to maintain, or you need to build the logic for custom master data.
Mhm. So do you have any documents regarding this, proper documents?
I will check, and if there is, then definitely I will provide. But at least I have given you the thought process, how to build it, how you need to trigger it. Now, if I will see if I will have any document, and then definitely in the next session or before that only I will provide, and coordinator will communicate you that the document is available. It will be available in the respective folder, whatever the folder we have.
So there is one body USMD rule service. So it will in the drive entities there. So that will trigger first, or feeder class will trigger?
Normally, all the service body. See, we have basically four type of service body. One is email notification. Next one is rule context preparation. Then is the user what is called
no, there is another USMD discuss assist.
Are you talking about USMD? Sorry.
SSW. So,
are you talking about the rule?
So where we are writing the drive actually, derivation rules and values.
Correct. Let me. However, I will talk about this later when we will come. But as you mentioned, let me tell you. So we have basically rule context preparation, calling system method, dynamic selection agent, and parallel processing and user agent. These are all, or basically the dynamic selection agent will take care of the final one. Okay, basically four. So rule context preparation. Sometimes what happens that rule context preparation will trigger after your feeder class trigger. That means in feeder class you maintain something, you click on check button. This is rule context preparation will trigger based on the change request data. Calling system method will be for email notification. Dynamic agent selection will help you to identify the next agent, and parallel processing is the parallel workflow process. That is, so this is the service body. Now coming to the rule body. In the rule body, we have two type of bodies.
Yes, cross
So
entity.
this is USMD. I think USMD service rule.
USMD SSWET something is there.
Rule service. Okay. So there, basically, there are two type of body we have. One is for single entity validation. Another one is for cross entity derivation. So coming to your particular case, so when the single entity and cross entity will fire, it will fire multiple times across the process. So it also fires before the UI trigger. It also fires post the you submit the UI, and many times because ultimately it validates the data, okay, for the different levels. So that's what this body also we can also try out, okay. And probably I think the single one will help you in order to do that, okay. So likewise, first we need to identify whether it is a single body or feeder class or handler class or access class, which class I need to fire. The best thing is the whole process I need to first debug. I need to put it on a, you should have some debugging process for the entire framework. There you see which class is getting triggered before your UI fire. That class you need to maintain this number range concern. Okay.
Okay. So first of all, we have to create the custom number range, and we have to assign the prefix for the custom data model, and we have to figure out the where we need to write the code to call the function model, where we have to call our custom range.
Correct. Correct. In fact, you don't need to create the number range in SNR. In fact, programmatically also you can maintain just this is the starting number and this is the end range you create and then plus one.
Thank you, Aditya.
Okay, no problem. We will come across this body, particularly in the workflow session. Okay, fine. So, is there any other question?